kitchen, and a new episode of the holidays are coming. It is the Saturday before Christmas, so today is December 22nd. It is my friend Kat's Cradle's birthday. Happy birthday, my sister from another mother. I love you very much.
Happy birthday, Kat.
And I was asked last week, I think, if I had a recipe for these. They're called Kolaches. I've never made them. I found a great recipe in my inbox from the Taste of Home magazine. I subscribe to their daily generator, and every day they send a recipe, and the day after the request was made, these ended up in my email box. It's funny how those things happen. Kolaches are a very kind of dense, melt-in-your-mouth yeast dough that has a fruit filling. A lot of people do them different ways. You know, some people roll them out, cut them in squares, and fold them over like my Keithley. Some people make little round balls and then put an indentation in them with the fruit filling and then put a glaze, and that's what we're going to do with these. But these do start out with a yeast dough, so let's see what goes into that. I am actually going to be following a recipe. This is the first time I've ever made it, so we'll learn how this works together. What we're going to need is 6 to 7 cups of all-purpose flour. Always use my King Arthur AP. We're going to need 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. That's what's in here. 2 teaspoons of salt, and this is my Himalayan pink salt. That's why it's pink. And we're going to need a stick of butter, 1/2 cup of water, and 2 cups of milk. And that's what is in here. And if you see what looks like floaties on the top, that's because this is the Gosner ultra high temperature processed milk. So sometimes that happens, but it's perfectly fine, okay? We're also going to need 6 egg yolks. I previously did a video on how to separate eggs for all of my viewers who don't know how to do that. So 6 egg yolks right here. Later on, we're going to need 1/4 cup of melted butter, and we're going to need the fruit lekvar that we made, our prune, apricot, and cherry lekvar. I may crack open a jar of raspberry jam as well. It just depends. Maybe some pineapple too. The possibilities are endless. You could fill these with whatever you want. You make homemade jam, use it. But we're going to go this route. Then we're going to make an icing glaze later to put over all the top of them. This may be a long drawn out process, but it is what it is. First thing we're going to do is I am going to stick this in the microwave for 2 minutes for that butter to melt and for the milk and the water to come up to temperature. If you are not using a microwave, you will want to scald the milk, which means to bring it just below the boiling point until the little bubbles start to form around the edge and the butter is melted. You do not want to boil it or you will burn your milk and it will be a giant, ugly, nasty, disgusting mess. So I'm going to stick this in the microwave because that's quick and easy. I have a lot of people who don't like to use the microwave. You don't have to. Put it in a pot on the stove. I'll be right back. And then we'll measure out all of our dry ingredients. Okay. Oh, you're showing off the bread?
Beautiful bread.
Yeah, I made bread this morning. Okay. Now we're going to measure out our dry ingredients. We're going to put 3 cups of flour only in the bowl situated here. And when I measure my flour, I do like to pour it from the bag because I think that you get a better... Oh, that's a little too much, but that's all right. We'll go under on this one. Recipe calls for 6. You may not need that much flour. However, we're just going to go with it, okay? So it says to combine 3 cups of flour along with the sugar, the salt, and the yeast. And this is, maybe not said that, it calls for 2 packets of active dry yeast. I buy my yeast in bulk, so each packet has 2.5 teaspoons. So this is 5 teaspoons of yeast. I'm also using instant yeast is what I use, okay? So you can just mix this right in. That means it doesn't need to be proofed. This is my favorite type of yeast to use. And then when the milk and butter mixture comes out of the microwave, we're going to put this on the mixer. You can do this by hand with a wooden spoon. I'm not going to use the bread hook because we do not want to knead this dough. We do not want to build up the gluten, otherwise you will have a bread. And we don't want a bread, we want a cookie or a dense butter cake, essentially is what we're making. with the it's a yeast cookie or yeast cake. This is very old style European baking, and many times they would use yeast in what we would consider a quick bread. This is not really a quick bread, it's a yeast cake. It's very, very prevalent. You will find these in Eastern European countries. Poland, Slovakia, which is not Slovakia anymore, it's Slovenia, Bosnia, and Serbia, Hungary, Poland, and my background is Czechoslovakian and Hungarian on my father's side. So these would have been things that you would have found on my grandmother's mom's table. So I'll be right back because my microwave just went off. And I may have to stick this back for just a moment. But let's see if we give it a stir. Maybe it'll just melt down. It's hot enough. We don't want it so hot that it's going to kill the yeast. We do not want that. So let's just see where we're at. Actually tells you to do it to 120 to 130 degrees. And if I pull out let's see where we are with this. This is just an instant read meat thermometer. We're just about where we want it. We don't want it to be much higher. Like I said, I've got a giant wreck here. Okay, I am not using the bread hook. I'll have Rick come over here. I'm using the paddle, okay? And I'm going to turn it on low, and I'm just going to start putting my milk, butter, and water mixture in here. And it says that you should add the liquid ingredients to the dry ingredients and beat and just until moistened. Add egg yolks and beat until smooth. Let's turn it up. Let's add those egg yolks in there. All right, now we are going to add enough flour. Here we go. It says to add enough flour to form a soft dough, and that it's going to be a sticky dough, so you don't want to, add too much. So let's add a cup at a time. So that's 4 cups total. And let it get incorporated. Here goes 5 cups. And depending on what the weather is where you live, you may actually use all 6 cups. You may use 5 cups, depending on how humid it is or how dry it is. And I'm going to go for that last cup. I think that's just about perfect. And get that fully incorporated in there. Yep. There we go. It says it's going to be a soft, sticky dough. So, let's see what this looks like and bring it over here. And sometimes you cannot avoid getting your hands in something, so don't be afraid. I'm just going to take my scraper here. Yep, I think that we have achieved what the recipe is saying. Soft and sticky, okay? So, I think at this point, if you wanted to add more flour, you probably shouldn't. I think our initial reaction is going to be to want to add more flour, but we shouldn't, because then we're going to end up with a tough cookie. And being a tough cookie is fine in certain aspects of life, but when you're actually making a cookie, probably not so much.
Tough cookies soft.
Well, it depends on the cookie. I can be a tough cookie when I have to be, but when I'm making Christmas cookies, I don't want the cookies to be tough. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put a bonnet on it. It says, and I am reading the recipe, it says that you should, it says do not knead. It says cover and let rise until doubled, about 45 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to let it sit on the back of the stove. I'm going to clean up my mess. I'm going to clean my bathroom. Doesn't that sound like fun? I wish I had a housekeeper. But you know what? Then I'd want to clean my house before the housekeeper came, so it's kind of pointless. Because that's how I am. All right, so we're going to let this rise for 45 minutes, and we'll come back when it's time to go on to the next step. It has been 45 minutes at least. I mean, it's doubled. So I did say it said 6 to 7 cups of flour. So I'm not sure that I added enough flour now that I look at it, but we're going to go with it and see how it works. Okay, we're going to kind of deflate this. It smells really nice. I love the smell of a yeast dough. I'm just going to gently come in here and deflate this. We'll just go with it and see where we're going, what happens. So, okay. Let me put some flour out here. It says turn dough out onto floured surface and roll to 1/2 inch thickness. Okay. Probably have a little too much flour out here.
It's like
but my dough is really sticky, so I want to make sure. What I'm doing is, instead of rolling it, I'm just patting this dough out. It's a nice soft dough.
you need a bigger board.
I need a bigger board. Yeah. See how you are? It says 1/2 inch, so we'll go ahead.
There.
It is about 1/2 inch thick, so I'll just manipulate it with my hands. There's no reason to get out the rolling pin, I don't think. And let's see. It says to use. I think that's about right. All right. A 2.5 inch in diameter biscuit cutter. So what I probably need to do is get out a pan, right? Let's see. And some parchment sheets so that I have somewhere to put these when they're all finished. Oh, okay. All right, so
the middle one there.
The middle, this one.
Oh, that's coming up.
This one? Okay. And just start cutting. we're gonna get a lot. And this dough, because it's a yeast dough, is certainly not a short dough like my Keithley dough is. Oh, okay. But we'll see how these turn out. I'm kind of excited to see what they look like. What does it say? It says, place 2 inches apart on lightly greased baking sheets. So they're going to get bigger. I guess we'll do 3 across. You moving? I'm going to use that. Let's see here. Does that look about right, babe?
Mm-hmm.
You're my measure guy. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these out on the baking sheet, and I'm going to brush them with some melted butter. Let me get these on the baking sheet and I'll come back when it's time to do that. What we're going to do now is we're going to brush these with some melted butter. We're going to let them rise until they double. The recipe says about 30 minutes, but my butter is warm. My kitchen is a little bit warm, so we're going to check these in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to brush them. I'm going to cover each of these. I'm going to show you on this sheet and then I'll continue with the rest. I'm going to just cover this with another piece of parchment because that makes sense to me. It's easy and I won't have to fight with my plastic wrap, okay? That way they'll be protected from, you know, any debris or whatever that we hopefully don't have flying around our kitchen, but you just never know.
Yeah, flying cats, though.
Flying cats. Yeah, there are days, aren't there? I have to say, this dough is really nice. It has a really nice hand to it. It's nice and soft. It is a bit sticky, but once you get good and floured up, it's really very nice. Very typical of some Hungarian pastries that my mama used to make. And you can cut these out with any shape of cookie cutter you like. You don't have to use a biscuit cutter. It can be whatever. Make Christmas trees or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think it's nice just to do the traditional little round ones. I remember having these from a neighbor a long time ago. But I didn't know what they were called, and I never did ask for the recipe because, you know, when I was younger, I didn't do that kind of thing, so... okay, we're going to cover these up with some parchment sheets. I'm going to clean up and then I'm going to go finish cleaning my bathroom because these rose up so quick that I didn't finish doing that in the first place. Just like that and just like that, and then we're going to wait and see what happens. I'll let you know how long I let them rise. All right, we're back and these have risen the proper amount of time. And what I've done is I've dipped the back of a tablespoon in
and how long was that?
I'm sorry. That was about a half an hour. Just about a half an hour.
So you tell me.
I did, yes. Oops. Yeah. I can't get my thing open here. Where is it? I'll just use this. Took the back of a tablespoon and dipped it in some of the leftover butter and fork. I just made an indentation, which you can see, okay? So what we're going to do now is I have some pineapple jam. I'm going to start out with this because I know my family will enjoy pineapple jam. And we're just going to go ahead and put some, it says to use a rounded teaspoon full. So that's what, this is an iced teaspoon, so, and this will cook a little, you know, it'll cook down, melt in there, so it'll be just right. And yes, I'm using my fingers. I gotta use my fingers.
I can't wait to try.
I know these are gonna be awesome.
Oh, you know what else you can put in the middle of them? Maybe a couple of them?
What?
Hershey Kiss.
No. I don't know how that would work, but I don't have any Hershey Kisses, so it don't matter.
Not yet.
I don't have any Hershey Kisses. Okay. Try some raspberry.
Just might have to open your stocking early.
You're giving away all the secrets, honey.
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. See, you still gotta wait and see.
That's true. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and pop these in there right now. In they go. And when they are ready to come out, I'll bring you back and show you what they look like. Our kolaches are out of the oven, and we have to put them on a wire rack, which I have done, except for this last pan, which just came out of the oven. I'm going to let that cool on the pan for a few minutes, and then I'll remove them to a separate wire rack. Let them cool completely, and then we'll come back and we'll make the glaze that goes on top. And when that happens, I'll bring you back. Hi everyone, we're back, and our kolaches are all cooled. And ironically enough, I'm on the phone with my mom when I was pulling the last one out of the oven. She's like, oh, kolaches. Don't you remember? My mom used to make those at Easter time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's been that long since I actually had them. That, yeah, I do remember now. So it is what it is, right? This is a quarter of a cup, half a stick of butter. That is at room temperature that I whipped up with my whisk there. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of good vanilla and a half a teaspoon of salt. If you don't want to add the salt, you don't have to. But salt really does make a difference when balancing out the sweetness of a baked good. So give that a good whisk. And to this we're going to add 3 cups of powdered sugar, or confectioner's sugar, or icing sugar, or triple X sugar, whatever you call it, wherever you're from. Everybody has a different name for it. Okay. Off to the side.
You know what you're gonna need?
A bigger bowl? Nope, I will not need a bigger bowl. And we're going to add some heavy cream, or you can use milk. We're going to add it a little bit at a time. You may need up to 4 tablespoons. It just depends on the weather, the humidity level mostly in your area. You don't want it too thin. You want this to be an icing, not a glaze. And we're definitely going to need some more. And what you see is my heavy cream is really thick. It's almost double cream.
It's farm fresh.
Well, that's why. And some more. You can just keep adding your liquid a little bit at a time until you get it right. And my whisk is full of powdered sugar, so we're just going to work this in until it comes out into the mass. See it? Did I get it all over you? All over the camera? See, it's coming out though. It needs a little more liquid still though. And I'm not adding a tablespoon at a time. It's less than that. I think we almost have it. There we go. It's too thick still. Hang on. I got a cat wanting to go out. I always have a cat wanting to go out.
Or come in.
Or come in to just depends on the day.
Usually one in, one out at the same time.
That's true. That's still a little thick for me, so I'm going to add more. It really doesn't take that much for it to make a big difference. Just remember, you can always add more liquid, but you can't take it away. In this case, if it gets a little thin, you can always add just a tad more powdered sugar, and you're going to be able to work with it. That is where I want it. Do you see how that strains? Just like that. That's where I want it. Alright, so we'll put our cream away. And I get a lot of people asking me how I keep my kitchen so clean. Well, that's my father's fault. As I was growing up, he always said, gotta clean as you go. And that is the best advice I can give anyone. Clean as you go. Alright, so let me grab an iced teaspoon, sweetie. I'm going to get rid of my whisk. I knew I needed to taste it to make sure it's okay. Is it okay? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's very okay.
Your whisk might work better for that.
You know, it might. Let's see. How about that, babe?
Every once in a while.
You were right about it, honey. That is good icing, though. Here you have it. Old-fashioned kolaches by request. Get a good look at those, honey, because I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah,
all right. They were not hard at all. They just take a little bit of time. So if you're going to do them, you can multitask when you're doing these, but just keep in mind they rise a little bit faster than you expect. And you don't plan on doing a whole bunch of other things when you're doing it. Like, I plan on cleaning my bathroom in between the risings, but that didn't really happen. So, because it is 3 days before Christmas, and it sounds like our main drain has decided it's going to clog, so we may have to call a plumber on Christmas Eve. God, I hope not. Anyway, Rick's going to end up helping, I think. Kolaches. I hope you try them. I hope you love them. And until next time, Merry Christmas.